Okay, welcome back. Chico and The Grin, episode number 30. We're back
30.
live.
Yep.
I'm half your host, Chico.
Other half the grin.
Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. As always, we appreciate your support and your listenership.
Yeah.
Today is episode 30. We're very happy we've made it to 30 episodes. We never thought we'd make it this far.
But we're here.
And enjoy. So we're going to do more of a movie episode this time around. We're going to try to keep it light, keep it fun, as fun as we can. But let's start off.
Creed. You saw Creed.
I saw Creed 2 yesterday. It was a okay movie.
Did you expect more?
No, it was about what I expected. I felt like the first one was better.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Of course, Michael B. Jordan, good actor.
Mm-hmm.
Really, the best actor in that movie was Tessa Thompson. I love her. She's phenomenal.
Do you think there's going to be a trilogy?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
100%.
All right.
They made the movie a lot more emotional than I thought they would. Like, it gave me the feely-feels halfway through.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not even halfway through, but most of the way through. You know, like they were showing. So the movie opens up, and this is going to be a spoiler alert. So if you're listening and you haven't watched the movie, either stop and go watch it, or just say fuck it and go watch it anyways because it's going to be a fun movie. So the movie essentially opens up with Michael B. Jordan getting ready for a fight. So Adonis Creed getting ready for a heavyweight fight for the championship. Mm-hmm. He's not the champion. Mm-hmm. And the guy he's fighting beat him in a sparring match and took his Mustang. So not only is he fighting...
from the first movie.
Right. So not only is he fighting for...
The guy's a real boxer, too.
Yeah. So not only is he fighting for the title, he's also fighting to win his Mustang back. And there's a whole mess of symbolism behind that throughout the movie. But basically, he wins the match, becomes a champion, decides that he wants to marry his girlfriend, who's played by Tessa Thompson, who's Bridget, who she's deaf, and she's a musician.
She's full-blown deaf now?
Well,
I know in the first movie she was losing her hearing.
She has hearing aids.
Okay.
They go through this whole thing. Rocky's in his corner, and the whole time they're flashing. They're cutting from him and his life to the Ukraine, where Drago is and Drago's son is. Okay. Now I don't know where they found this guy to play Drago's son, but this motherfucker is huge. I don't know what lab this motherfucker was cooked in, but shit, this motherfucker is big. Because I know Michael B. Jordan is not a small guy. Nah. This motherfucker towers over Michael B. Jordan in both height and width. All right. And he's a scary looking dude. Okay. So they start playing up the story angle about Drago, and like Drago lives in the Ukraine. And if you remember from Rocky 3, right? Was it Rocky 3 or Rocky 4 with Drago? 4. Yeah. Drago is like the pride of Russia, of Soviet Russia. Everybody loves him. It's like everything's surrounded in gold. Mm-hmm. Now it's him and his son. His son sleeps on the couch. They live in like this project building in the Ukraine. Mm-hmm. They have nothing.
He lost it all.
He lost it all when Rocky beat him.
All right.
Doesn't have his wife. Brigitte Nielsen is in the movie.
She is
in the movie.
Wow.
Surprise, motherfucker. Exactly. Brigitte Nielsen's in the movie, and they basically take you through...
You know Stallone's ex-wife?
Yeah. Yeah. She looks terrible.
Of course.
She looks fucking terrible, man.
And she just had a kid.
Whoa, what?
Yeah.
Oh, she's like 50, no?
Yep. She had a kid.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Her first, from what I hear.
God damn.
Yep.
All right. Well, good for her. So the movie is very... It's dramatic, but it's like tempered at times. But there's a scene where they figure out that... Well, let me back up. So he becomes a champion. Mm-hmm. They play up Drago. They find Drago. Drago's just like Drago's kid's just knocking people out left and right. Mm-hmm. They bring him to the U.S. They taunt Creed with the whole, Drago killed your father. Blah, blah, blah,
they bait him.
They bait him.
Yeah.
He takes the fight. Boy, does he get his ass whooped in that fight. Like, so bad. The Drago son fractures his ribs, breaks his orbital socket, gives him like a grade 3 concussion. They take it so far as that after the fight, while they show Creed healing, he goes to go pee and he pisses blood and he can't like stand up because it hurts so bad because his kidneys are ruptured.
I've been there.
That shit's fucked, right?
Yep.
And then they figure out that his fiance is pregnant, and then they worry about, well, what if she's deaf? What if the baby's deaf? And I'm like, okay, you can't do that. You can't make me emotionally attached to Creed and then make me emotionally attached to his baby and then have his baby be deaf, right? Yeah. I'm like, nah, it's all going to be fine, whatever. They give birth. They're all happy, and then he goes, "So, Doc, what about the test?" And the doctor goes, "Well, take your time, enjoy your time with the baby, and this and that. We'll run the hearing test tomorrow." Mm-hmm. So they're running the hearing test. They put like these nodes on the baby's face, and they put the little headphones on this little baby. And I'm like, there is no way they're gonna give them a deaf baby. There's no way they're gonna do this.
And they did.
They give the motherfucker a deaf baby. I was so sad. This scene, I was like, why would you do this to me?
Wow.
Why would you? I
didn't know it was hereditary.
Yeah, and that's what they say. It goes. The girl goes. It's hereditary, so it's a possibility. They gave this motherfucker a deaf baby. Cute baby, deaf baby. Later on in the movie, you see the baby, and she has little baby hearing aids in. I'm like, the fuck is this shit? It's fucked up. But it brought that weird realism to the movie where not everything ends well. Fast forward, they fight again.
Yeah.
And of course, if you remember when in Rocky IV, when he was training to fight Drago again, where does he go? He goes to the mountains. Yeah. He's doing all this unconventional training. In this movie,
the desert. Saw that trailer.
And he's fighting Mexicans. He's fighting jacked fucking Mexicans in the desert. 1 foot in a tire, just body shots, getting in. And Stallone's like, oh, that's what the fight's gonna be. You gotta be toe to toe. You gotta take the pain. You gotta take the pain, Donnie. Yeah. Do all that crazy shit. He beats Drago's kid, like knocks him the fuck out.
Okay.
Brigitte Nielsen. Oh, that's the part I want to talk about. So after he beats Creed, right, he gets disqualified. So he doesn't get the title from him when he beats him the first time. He punches him. Creed falls to his knee, and Drago's son illegally punches him in the face while he's on his knee and knocks him out, and they disqualify him. So he never wins the title. So the entire movie, he remains Creed remains the champion. But in Russia, they cut to it, and like all these oligarchs and all these rich Russian people are throwing a dinner party for Drago and for Drago's son, and they're sitting down, and this woman walks in. You see this woman walk in behind them at the dinner party. And you're like, nah, it's not going to be. Because they mentioned twice, the reason why they are the way they are and they're in the situation they're in is because Drago lost. His mom left them because of the disgrace. It's cut to, you see her walk by and she sits down and it's fucking Brigitte Nielsen sitting across from her ex-husband and her son, who apparently her son hasn't seen since he was a little boy.
Wow.
So he like flips out. And during the end fight scene, she's there watching, and when he gets knocked down the first time, when Drago gets knocked down the first time, in like the ninth round, she gets up and she leaves with her rich like military husband or whatever, and that fucks up Drago's head. And it's actually very, very good acting from the guy who plays Drago's son. There's a scene between Rocky and Drago in Rocky's restaurant where he explains why he's there, because Rocky's like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" And he explains this one. There's an amazing scene towards the end of the movie where Rocky goes to go see his son and his grandson. And did
he bring back the same actor?
Yeah, the guy from the other movie.
Yeah, Milo. I forgot his real name. Milo's son.
Yeah. So in the movie, they mention that he hasn't spoken to his son in a long time, and he's never met his grandkid. So at the end, this is the best acting I've ever seen from Sylvester Stallone. Like, really, I think they took some Botox out of his face so that he can make these emotions. Because he knocks on the door, and his grandson opens the door. And he's talking, and then his son comes to the door, and he's like trying to vocalize how much he's missed them, but it looks like he's really like, it looks like a real sadness in his eye. And I'm like, oh my god, Sylvester Stallone's gonna make me cry. What world am I living in?
He wrote Rocky.
Yeah, no, and didn't he win the Oscar for that movie?
I believe so. Yeah.
I mean, the man has talent.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be real. He's not winning an Oscar for The Expendables, right?
No.
But that like 3-minute performance at the end of the movie of him with his son and his grandson, is probably the best acting I've ever seen, like the best dramatic acting I've ever seen from Sylvester Stallone in a movie. I highly recommend you go watch Creed 2, if anything, for just a fun movie.
I didn't think you were going to tell me anything like that I couldn't figure out already from the story.
Yeah, no, the story has its holes.
It's part of the Rocky franchise.
The story overall is cookie cutter from the other movies. But the small things that make a difference, for one, Tessa Thompson's performance is amazing. She's just phenomenal. I love her. From the moment I saw her in fucking Thor Ragnarok, as the Valkyrie, the drunk Valkyrie, so good.
I didn't like her.
Oh, I love her so much.
Wasn't a fan.
And she was also in. Was that her? Yeah, she was also in the movie, the one we saw.
The trippy one?
Yeah, the trippy one. She was in that one too. I like that. I just like her in general. But there are small moments throughout Creed where you really see like good acting and good storytelling come together. But then there are also a lot of things that are just kind of fucking weird, you know? So I know that's Creed. That's my review of Creed. Go check it out. I know you just recently watched The Crimes of Grindelwald. Yeah. Grimwald. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that? Because I'm not big into the Harry Potter world, but it seemed like a cool movie.
I mean, I'm not a huge Harry Potter fan either, but I appreciate Harry Potter or the Wizarding world as they call it for a lot of other reasons, right? Just the aesthetic, the scenery, the storyline is pretty good, but just how when I watch each movie, it just takes me to this place. I love that, you know, whether the story was good or bad. I'm all about when I go to the movie theaters. I want the escapism.
Right, you want to.
And they do it very well. The first one, Fantastic Beasts, you know, it was just a grown up version of Harry Potter, you know, done in America. Very simple story.
Where we do wizards right, goddammit.
They dress better. And it's just visually entertaining. You know, it's not much I could say. It was a great movie all in all. The first one, I watched it a few times. So the second one coming out, because this is going to be a part 2 of like 5, apparently.
God damn.
Yeah, and none of these are written in books. None of them are books.
These are all just screenplays.
Straight screenplays. So, you know, I don't know what to expect. But this movie's 2 hours long.
God damn.
Yeah, this movie is long. I might see it again because I dozed off a few times. I was like, yeah, I gotta rewatch it. But all in all, I would say one of the main things I really enjoyed about the movie was the costume design.
Yeah, the visuals are always really cool.
It was like no. The costumes, the suits that everybody wore.
This takes place in what, the 40s?
Like the 20s.
Oh, okay.
The Roaring 20s.
Oh, all right. Yeah.
So when it was in America, it was like you see the Roaring 20s mixed with like, it's not diesel punk. It's kind of, but that would be like the 40s. It has like these. It doesn't have like the Victorian element, but it has like a very. This is grungy, but at the same time, it's a polished look because it's America, right? It's not Europe,
right?
So America back then, it was like the Industrial Revolution. Sure. So that's all of that stuff was going on in the background, and I'm just watching these movies.
Like steampunk,
kind of. I think steampunk was more
futuristic.
Like no, I would always think steampunk was like the 40s.
Okay.
But I guess the Roaring 20s would make sense because it's Industrial Revolution.
Sure.
So it's all around the same. All right.
Yeah.
I'm getting too technical.
Okay. Sure.
But either way, you know, it has that style to it, and they just put you there. Mm-hmm. It's not even that they take you there and they gotta explain things. It's just this is it. And the way magic happens in the real world, or not in the real world, but the way magic happens for normal people, it's like it's intertwined. Mm-hmm. Like, and there's this agency that knows about. They keep the truce between humans and magicians, basically, right? So there's some humans who know about magicians, and there's some that don't. The general population doesn't know, but the magicians work with everybody. Rather than Harry Potter, you got to go to a far off land.
Sure, yeah.
So that's another thing. It's like everything is intertwined, and then a set when they're like riding on these dragons or doing their spells, and you're just watching. It's like it's just seamless. It's a seamless creation, and I love it because I just watch them like can't explain anything, but you just understand this is how their world works.
Okay,
and we're just in it. Okay. So take that aside. The story itself, the story was pretty good. I can't give away too much, but there is a big twist at the end, like a huge twist that I didn't even see coming. It's not explained, and then at the very last minute, they're like, "Bam!" And it was like, oh, well, that's a big fucking plot twist, you know, out of nowhere. So it was like, all right.
Is this movie heavily connected to the first one?
No.
Like, do I have to watch the first one to get this one?
Yes and no. There's two main things that go on in the first one to see this one. But it's just the guy, Newt Scamander, who's the guy who wrote the book, The Fantastic Beasts. Because The Fantastic Beasts is just a book of monsters.
Oh, okay.
And he's not a zookeeper, but he's a magician who likes monsters. He takes care. They're his pets. They're his friends. He would be like a zookeeper, but he's not. There's all these mythical beasts that people kill, and they collect them, and he's just like, nah, I just want to take care of them. And that's kind of cool too, because he has like a suitcase. And when you look at the suitcase, there's a regular old suitcase.
Oh, so that's the main character.
But then when he opens it up, it takes you to like this gigantic like Mary Poppins type fucking vibe inside a suitcase.
Oh,
where it's just like, because Mary Poppins, she had the bag.
Yeah.
Everything came out of it. So yeah, he has all these monsters, and even the monsters, man, the little ones, the small ones, the tree figure. It's like the special effects, the CGI, they all look legit. Yeah, it's a fun movie.
I may watch this movie this weekend.
And then so it's the main character. The first movie explains who he is, what he's about, and then there's a character from the first movie that follows over to the second movie, which is really what the second movie is about. So there's like, you don't need to see the first one because they'll catch you up on the second one.
Okay.
So
I may do that. I may just watch the second one.
It's good.
I may watch the first one this weekend, and then next week, like on Tuesday or something, go check out this one. Yeah,
for me, it's like, I always like costume design, especially when I see men wearing fine tailored suits that don't look all foo-foo or costumey. Sure. They look like natural.
Yeah.
I like set design. I love set design. The aesthetic where every detail has a purpose. You don't just throw something in a movie. Everything has a purpose, from the shoes to the signs on the wall to the lettering, the topography, the colors, the harmony. All of it works. And then just the overall story. Like I said, even if it sucked, I would have liked it. It makes me want to go out and buy the art book for this movie.
That's always a good sign.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It's pretty good. She's doing a hell of a job, man. J.K. Rowling?
Yeah, but she didn't write the books, right? These aren't.
She's writing the screenplays.
Oh, she's writing the screenplays.
Yeah. Oh, but there are no books, so she's just straight to screenplay.
Straight. She's making that money. She
gave it away too.
Paid.
She was a billionaire until she gave like a chunk of it away.
Oh, she gave it. She
gave a chunk, so she's no longer a billionaire.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wonder where that is. So fuck it. Here.
I saw her Lifetime story once. It was pretty good.
Imagine just being a mom and then writing a story that just takes you into another stratosphere.
Well, the way because the thing about her, they always say, oh yeah, she was a single mom on welfare. Yeah, in Europe. So it's a little different than being a single mom on welfare here in the States. The system doesn't work like the way the system works here. Because if you're a single mom on welfare here, yeah, chances are you're living in a shithole.
Probably.
You got some real fucking issues. But the way they explain the way she was living on the system and all stuff, I'm like, yeah, they kind of took care of you. They took care of your kid. Yeah. Because that's how the system is where she was living at, An
island, right? Social benefits.
Yeah, but I think there was one time when she wasn't living on the island. She was actually living in the city where she met her kid's father. Mm-hmm. It was like, I don't know if he was I forgot. It was like Italy or somewhere, but she was in Europe.
Okay.
And then she moved back home. But the good thing about that movie was they show you where she got some of her ideas from. You know, it's like how she came up with like this and that, because she didn't write it all at once.
Right. It was a whole long thing.
It was just pieces, and then she finally because it was like a bunch of short stories, and she finally pieced it together to like books. And I actually downloaded the whole set of Harry Potter, and I've been reading the short stories, and they're pretty good.
Oh, I remember reading that back when I was in middle school when it came out. When the first Harry Potter came out, I remember reading it. My parents didn't want me reading it because it had to do with magic.
My mom, she did that for my little sister. And I was like, seriously? She said, yeah, I never saw the movies or anything since she got older. She got in college.
Yeah.
I was like, damn.
I've seen all the movies. They're all right. The original ones. They're okay.
Yeah, Harry Potter is like...
It's not really my thing.
That's why I like Fantastic Beasts.
Yeah.
It's more
adult, you think?
Definitely. It's not so cheesy. It's not so kiddie. It's not so
No. Like, I like
soft.
fantasy. I like...
Then you will like this.
Yeah, because I like Lord of the Rings. I like stuff like that.
It's on that level.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not as battle, like dark, like as Lord of the Rings is, especially Two Towers, but it's on that level. It's the equivalent.
Dark as fuck.
It's and the same thing like Lord of the Rings. For me, Lord of the Rings was the best movie I've ever seen in my life in the movie theater.
Sure.
Right? The DVDs, watching on TV is not the same.
No, the theater experience.
When I saw it in the movie theaters, I was like, this shit is insane. It's insane. The Two Towers, that was a hell of a movie by itself.
Yeah.
We just threw the dude at the end. It was like they were on the castle.
Yeah.
Was like the elf. He threw like the little dwarf.
He threw
just tossed him.
Gimli. He threw Gimli.
I was like, what the fuck?
Throw me. What? You gotta throw me. I will never forget. He grabs it and just chucks him.
They just battled it out. I was like, this movie's awesome.
Yeah,
man.
all those orcs.
Yeah.
And then when
matter of fact, I might rewatch that.
Oh, I love anytime it's on TV, I stop and I watch it. That and Ghostbusters always gets me to stop and watch what's on TV.
Ghostbusters. I don't like the second one too much though.
The second one's pretty terrible, but I'll watch it.
But the first one's the shit.
They were giving the new Ghostbusters on TV, and I clicked past it. And my girlfriend's like, "Why don't you want to watch the new one?" I'm like, I looked at her, and I'm like, "There's no reason why they should have remade this." And she goes, "Oh, it's not because it's women." I'm like, "It has nothing to do with that."
Oh, I think they might be making a part 3, like a legit Ghostbusters trilogy.
Really?
Yeah, I saw something the other day.
No, but what's his name? What's his name?
He died.
Yeah.
Hold up. Something came up.
Man, you really about this DuckDuckGo life?
That was on a I read about it on a computer podcast, a tech podcast.
Okay.
And it was just like not using
Ghostbusters
Google
3
shit.
may still happen with original cast.
Yeah.
Including Bill Murray.
Except for the guy who died.
Yeah.
Who's also the director.
Yeah, Egon.
Yeah. We'll see. Yeah.
Well, Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray can certainly do a great job. You know, but I don't know. I feel like if they were going to make a part 3, they should have made it a long time ago.
I have hopes.
And I think I don't know. I think if they were to make a part 3 with the original cast, I think a lot of people would be upset because they're like, "Oh, well, why didn't the girls get a part 2?" Like,
Fuck him.
Because it's fucking terrible. It's a bad movie. It's a shit movie. At least the first Ghostbusters was a good movie.
But if this is what the fans want, this is what they should make. Because nobody asked them to make a Ghostbusters movie that was all cast female.
Right. No one asked for that.
And they chose to do that.
And there was no need to do that.
Nope.
There's some movies that don't need to be remade. They remade fucking
Batman doesn't need to be remade.
Nope. What was the movie they just remade?
Spider-Man.
Was it Lawrence? It wasn't Lawrence of Arabia. It was the
Tarzan. They keep remaking those fucking movies.
It was the other one with the Coliseum. The guy they were fighting, not Gladiator. They remade one recently.
Ben-Hur?
Ben-Hur. They remade Ben-Hur. That movie was fucking terrible.
Oh, what about the Jesus movie with Joaquin Phoenix? Oh my God. And a girl from the girl with the dragon tattoo.
Uh-huh.
She played the Virgin Mary.
It's the fucking worst.
The 2 palest people in the world walking through the desert.
Yeah. You know, I think we spoke about this in the previous podcast. That movie.
Oh, she's under.
The movie with the I forget what it's called. Risen.
Yeah.
That was a good.
You told me with the Australian guy.
Yeah, that was a good depiction of Jesus because the guy who played Jesus was that I forget his name, but he's an actor.
He's Australian.
Yeah, and he's Arabic. So he's dark skinned.
But he was
or maybe he's Indian.
No. He's Australian. What is it? Not Aborigine.
Is he Aborigines? Yeah. But he's dark skinned. He could pass for somebody from the Middle East.
Dude, he's played Colombian drug lords. I've seen him do a lot of movies.
Yeah. He's been in a lot of stuff like that.
But yeah, I know he's Australian because there was he put out a movie about an Australian chess team. They don't call it not Aborigine. What's another word?
But he's
Damn
in.
it. No, this is gonna mess with me.
You watched not The Walking Dead, but the other show that they have.
Yeah, he's on that.
Yeah, he's on the other show, not The Walking Dead, but the other show. But that was a good depiction of Jesus. Looking at Rotten Tomatoes right now. Here we go. Where's the cast?
Just want to find his name. Cliff Curtis.
There you go, Cliff Curtis. Yeah. He's a good actor. He's a very good actor.
New Zealand. Sorry.
New Zealand.
Not Australia.
But
I was close. Maury. That's what he is.
Him with long hair and white robes. It's fucking Jesus.
This movie was good. The Dark Horse.
The Dark Horse. Yeah, I heard
it's about that chess team.
I never saw it.
Yeah. Well.
So overall, Crimes of Grindelwald, legit?
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. You know, what else can I say? You know, I could give out spoilers. Yep. I'm not as punctual as you know, with descriptions. Sure. But I enjoyed it.
Good. Next movie that I checked out, Robin Hood. So the first thing I'm going to say is I don't know why they made this movie. When they made the one...
Because of Arrow.
Maybe. But they made a movie a couple years ago of Robin Hood with Russell Crowe.
They did?
Yeah.
I don't remember that one.
Russell Crowe was Robin Hood. If you IMDb it, it was called. I'm not sure if it was called Robin Hood, but it's basically Robin Hood. It's the character is called Robin Hood, Robin of Locksley.
So it's a Robin Hood movie.
It's a Robin Hood movie. Yeah, but it's a very dramatic one. Yeah. Whereas this one is more like
action packed.
Yeah, it's more
because of Arrow.
and it's more funny and it's more comical and whimsical. Taron Egerton plays Robin Hood. Jamie Foxx plays Little John. We just call him John. He's a Moor that hides away on a boat and comes back from the Crusades, from Arabia. This may be Jamie Foxx's worst performance I've ever seen.
Probably.
It's really bad. Like, really bad.
It looked like it.
I was watching him, and I'm like, this is not the same man who won an Academy Award for Ray. Like, it's fucking... I don't know what it is. The storytelling was sloppy. The cuts were sloppy. It jumped from, like, scene to scene, was like a drastic cut with, like, a different...
he was shooting 3 hours at a time.
Right. And they attribute that to...
training.
Sort of.
In the back cave.
But the way it worked in the movie was, so Robin Hood, Robin of Locksley, gets summoned, gets drafted into the Crusades, the Crusade War, by the Sheriff of Nottingham. And they cut to a scene where they're in, I guess, Jerusalem or Arabia or wherever, and they're in a city, and they're trying to seize the city, sack the city, and you see all these Moors running, and they're running like ninjas. You don't hear their feet on the floor. They just...
They at least portrayed it more as well.
Yeah, it made them look fucking badass is what it made them look like. Because they got the jump on the Brits. And they had all these really cool things that the Brits didn't have. So the Brits had like swords and bows and arrows and stuff. But the Arabia had like this like Gatling gun bow machine thing that was pretty badass and was just fucking people up.
The Moors did conquer Europe.
They did. So there's a scene where the Moors, the main one, Jamie Foxx, is jumping through the air and he's able to shoot 2 bows a second, according to him. He can shoot 2 bows a second.
Assassin's Creed style.
Yeah, that's very much what that was based off of. Whatever, long story, blah, blah. They go back, and Robin Hood's wife, they all think he's dead because the Sheriff of Nottingham said Robin Hood died, but Robin of Locksley died. He comes back, he becomes the Hood. He gets trained by Jamie Foxx to learn how to shoot a bow very quickly and be tough and this and that. And basically, the movie is just sloppy. Is it a fun movie? Sort of. It's cool. If you like just, an hour and some change of just bows and arrows and poor scripting and cliche lines. And it's one of those movies that you watch and you're enjoying it, but you know exactly what's going to happen in the next scene. You can tell what's going to happen in the next scene. You can tell somebody's going to make a mistake and it's going to reveal who he is and all this other shit. It was just like, I don't know. I don't think I would have paid for it, but since I'm an A-list member, it's super easy to just not care. But I don't think I would recommend going see it unless you literally had nothing else to watch and you don't particularly care if you waste an hour and some change in time. I think they should have made a continuation to the Russell Crowe one because the Russell Crowe one was really, really good. I thought the one that they did with Russell Crowe was like exceptional. The acting, the storytelling, the way it ended was perfect as well. Where the Sheriff of Nottingham declares Robin Hood an outlaw, because in the movie with Russell Crowe, one of the big end fight scene is Robin Hood and his merry men, the people from Nottingham, the Nottingham army, including the Sheriff of Nottingham, fighting against the French who have snuck onto England to take over.
Okay.
And they were brought over by some other subsection of the English government. It was like a conspiracy within the movie. Yeah. And at the end, Robin Hood saves the Sheriff of Nottingham, and he's supposed to get his freedom and be marked back as somebody in good standing. But at the very end, the Sheriff of Nottingham shreds up the agreement and declares Robin Hood an outlaw. And he like that the acting, the way I forget the actor's name. I think it might actually be the same actor who plays Poe Dameron in Star Wars. I think. I could be wrong. It could also be Viola Davis. Who knows? But he screams. He goes, "He is an outlaw!" And everybody's all freaking out. And then at the very end, the fucking arrow comes in and slams right next to the wanted sign. And everybody starts freaking out. And it was just a good movie. I'm gonna see if I get the name of it. I'm pretty sure it's called Robin or Robin Hood.
I just came to me. I know why they made the movie now.
Why?
They just made a King Arthur movie.
That movie was also fucking terrible.
Yeah, with the guy from Sons of Anarchy.
It was so bad. That movie was so bad. Yeah, I saw that movie too. Oh,
but
yeah.
there is a new.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, it's called Robin Hood.
But there is a
2010.
new King Arthur movie coming out.
Oh, yeah, the little kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. That looks good. That shit looks good. Wow, I can't believe this movie came out in 2010. It's been 8 years.
Yeah, man. I didn't remember a Russell Crowe movie recently. In the last couple of years.
Yeah, I thought it was much more recently, but yeah, it's this one right here. It's really good. It was a really good movie. It holds up. If you go watch it now, I'm pretty sure you'd enjoy it. It's a solid movie for sure. Like Kevin Costner one. I also like that one, but nothing will ever beat Men in Tights ever. Nothing will ever beat Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle cracking open an egg full of leggings. I love that movie so much. I remember being a kid watching Men in Tights on Comedy Central as a kid. Yeah. I get so excited when I would see the actor from The Princess Bride. I forget that white boy's name. Yeah, but when you would see him and then you see Dave Chappelle, Men in Tights, tights, I would get so fucking hype.
Getting hype now.
Oh, I love that movie. It's so good. It's such a good comedy. And then like just everything about that movie is great. Everything about that movie.
But I got a serious movie to talk about.
Okay.
The Hate U Give. Yeah, that movie was deep. It opens up on a serious note because it's about a police shooting, right? And there's a few moments in the movie that really get you thinking. And I can honestly say, like, most of the time I wouldn't watch these movies in the theater. But me and my girl, we got tickets to go see it at the Schomburg, which is a cool place in Harlem, the library. And they give a talk, some commentary ahead of time about the movie. There was a discussion afterwards, but we didn't stay for it. And the movie itself, I think it was good for not people like me, but for the youth, right? Because the movie they touch on a lot of different things. So it opens up on a serious note with like the father just schooling his kids on and I mean they're young kids, and he's just schooling them on how to, like, if you get stopped by the police, what do you do, right? And at first it's just like, oh, this is that talk that everybody's talking, even though I never had that talk, right? For me, it was like nobody ever sat me down and said, like, this is how you act towards the police. It was kind of like instinctual, you know. But the movie opens up. I believe it opens up with that scene, and the father, he's telling him, this is what you do, blah blah blah, and then he goes over the 10 points of like the Black Panthers, which I like. I like that aspect because they're bringing in a little bit of history to it, and he's talking about like the Black Panthers and why they were relevant, and then it moves fast forward. You see the girl, she's a teenager, blah blah blah, all that shit. And they try to build up the characters for like half hour, right? So then there's a party. You see like what the girl's into. She goes to school in like a rich white neighborhood, but she lives in the hood, right? But her parents, they do well, They just send her to a better school than the one that's in their community. She goes to a party, and she's in the car with her friend. They get stopped by the cops. There was a few things wrong with this, but for the point in the movie, it happened. So the girl does, when they're stopped by the police, she does what her father has always trained her to do since she was a little kid. She's a teenager now. So she puts her hands on the dashboard, make sure no sudden movements. And the guy, he's just being a teenager dude, thinking he's above the law and shit, right? The cop pulls him out the car, wait right here. He goes, runs his name, runs the plates, all that stuff. The kid does something. I'm not going to say what he does, but he does something.
He reaches in and grabs the brush.
Oh, Yeah,
it's in the trailer.
Oh, my bad. I forgot.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he reaches in and grabs the brush. For me, I was like, that's stupid. But it's a fucking movie and you got to do something.
But kids
right?
do dumb things.
That's stupid. I don't care who you are.
Sure.
That's just fucking idiotic. Period.
Well, kids are naive, They think nothing's gonna happen. It's just I'm grabbing my brush. You can see it happen, right?
I don't know about that, dude. I've been pulled over by a lot of police. That's a stupid fucking move.
No, I agree. It is dumb. It is a dumb move.
So it's like there's no justification for that. But like I said, because of the movie, they did that. So that sparks that thing. He gets shot. Boom. So for me, it's like, yeah, I'm interested, but I'm also like, I'm watching a movie. But there was a few parts that I like how the movie they took the turn rather than focusing on the police, because they do focus on the police and how the police treat people in their community. And there's even a part that Common, the rapper, he's in the movie and he plays a cop. I think he's like he's not a sergeant because he's still in a patrol car. So he's some type of officer, but he seems like he has a high ranking, but he's an officer. And there's a discussion between the girl and Common, because Common's her uncle. And she's like, well, how come they shot him? How come they did this? How come they did that? And Common, as a cop, he's just like, he's trying to explain, like, not all cops are bad, not all cops are this, not all cops are that, because he's a police officer. But then there's a moment when they're having a conversation and she starts asking him questions like, but, that's not fair that this happens, or blah, blah, blah. But she was like, would you do that if it was a white guy? And he was like, no, I would do this, do blah, blah, blah. And, like, he would go about it differently. And you start seeing, he's explaining this to her, but he's also thinking about he hears himself saying these things. He realizes
what he's saying.
And then she asked, I forgot what question she asked him. I saw this movie, it was months ago. But there was, something she asked him about, but why would you do it for black people? Why would you be like that towards black people? And he was just like he tried to say, or don't quote me on this, but it seemed like he was trying to say, because he can't take that chance. But you see him trying to, you see the character, you see him talking, and just he just realizes, if it was a black person, he would shoot. He would shoot because that's what he's trained to do. But if it was a white guy, he wouldn't. So the movie has those types of moments.
Oh, that's interesting. That's complex. Yeah. That's hard to convey on film.
But they did a good.
That's good.
It was a good. Like I said, the movie, there was these little scenes in there that made me think about certain things. Even though of course I've dealt with this bullshit my whole life. Mm-hmm. But I like how it was different from the typical movie that will talk about the injustice that goes on in those communities, in the communities I live in, sure, in the communities you live in. It was like their approach to it was very different. And there was another scene where the girl, because like I said, the main character goes to a kind of like a prep school, right, mm-hmm, in an upper class neighborhood, and her friends are all mixed race and stuff. I mean, no, the majority of them are white. I think it's one Asian girl, and she starts noticing how her friends start acting differently, and she starts becoming who she is rather than trying to fit into their world, becoming sure, more Afrocentric, mm-hmm, to say, right? Instead of toning it down a bit. And the movie also talks about that, right? That's another thing I liked. It's and it was just, I'm getting tongue tied, but I appreciate the fact that it was a serious movie that wasn't too serious for kids not to relate to.
That's good. It's hard to make a film that way.
Yeah, with all these deep topics.
Yeah.
But deep in a way where it's adults can respect it, and children could also, teenagers could also be into it. Because I was in the theater, it was packed with teenagers, man.
Really?
And and it was when a guy that her so-called love interest came into the screen, it was all the little girls when they lost their. I was like,
really?
Yeah, it was madness. It was a community event.
Sure.
So it was adults, it was parents, and then the teens. It was packed in there, but that was annoying after a while. I was like, shut the fuck up. But I couldn't say that, But there was a few more scenes. There was a riot, there was a protest. Here's the thing. Here's one thing that I really appreciated. All right, so the father is an ex-gang member, right? He's not in that life no more. He's just all about his family, and he's doing well. And towards the end of the movie, there was a scene where he's confronting this other gang member, and there's a whole other story that's going on with that shit, and the police shooting. It's everything just intertwines. But there's a scene where it's damn, how can I explain this? I just explain it. It was there's a scene where the little kid takes the father's gun, and he points it at the other gang member to protect his family, because he's a real cool cat. The actor did a very good job, just portraying a strong black man on screen in a good way, not this typical bullshit that you always see, mm-hmm, right? This dude, I like the character a lot, and yeah, there was a scene at the end where the kid just takes the gun, and then the police happen to roll up at the same time, and it's like you just see everybody with these guns out pointing at this little kid, and it was like an oh fuck moment because everybody's just watching this go down, and then it was like enough, right? Just enough, and it just kind of like it fixed itself, but the movie had a lot of those moments. It was an intense movie. It was good, but it was
sounds like an intense movie.
Like I'm thinking about it now because it was like I put it in the back of my head. You know, it's like I saw it, never talked about it. Just like I remember when I watched it, it was like I was kind of heated. But then I like how they always mention the Black Panthers 10-point plan. And the good thing about the Black Panthers, like people always try to say they're terrorists. They always try to say they were anti-government. Mm-hmm. That wasn't it. The Black Panthers are just about taking care of their people because nobody else was.
Yep.
The system didn't give a damn about black people. The system still doesn't care about black people. And the Black Panthers was just about, we're going to take care of our own. We're going to police our own neighborhoods. We're going to feed our own children. We're going to make places, make businesses, and give jobs to our community. And they touch on that, and that's how the father is. He's very independent. So, but the other thing they mentioned was like Tupac. You know, it's through the movie. And it was like, I completely forgot about this. It was like, that's why they call it the hate you give. It was like the hate you give lives in every child. And in the beginning, there's a scene between a girl and a guy in a car, and he's like bumping Pac, and she clowning him because it's like old as shit. But I like how the guy, instead of just talking like, oh, Pac was about this, Pac was about that, he talks about the conscious side of Pac, which is what a lot of people, like we had a conversation about Tupac, and I was like, I'm a big fan. And this is something that a lot of people ignore. And I'm like, Tupac had his moments and he had his bullshit diss records, but 75% of his music was about something deep. It was about a true conscious story. Yeah. Explaining something. It was poetry. It wasn't this thug bullshit, but people always talk about the thug stuff. And I'm like, nah, man, this dude was a poet. And they touch on that in the movie. It's like, I really dug it, man.
It sounds like you really like the movie. It comes across in the way you describe it.
Verbal person, I have a lot more to say.
You did great. I got a good sense. I want to go see it. I didn't get a chance to see it, but I mean, after hearing you talk about it, I definitely want to go give it a watch.
The cast is great.
The trailer didn't rub me the right way for some reason. I don't know. I saw the trailer and I was like, this just looks really depressing. This looks like super depressing.
And that's normally how, when these movies come out, I normally don't see them in the movie theater, right? The last movie I saw like this, that had like these type of serious tones and events, was the Django.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, and I was pissed because people were fucking laughing at scenes where I'm like, that shit ain't funny, man.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great movie, but no.
Yeah, but I was like, and that's why I can't see these movies in the theater.
Oh, shit.
So I guess like seeing it in Harlem, it was a little different vibe because people laughed at funny parts and was quiet during serious parts. Yeah. Versus Django, people were laughing at. I was like, that's not funny at all.
What parts were they laughing at?
The violent shit. You know, the slave fighting or the insults that like Leonardo DiCaprio or the quick shit that people were saying to the characters. I was like, this ain't funny, man. Yeah, I was so like I'm always on the fence to see like movies like this, but then I'll watch them at home.
Yeah. Did you ever finish watching Hateful Eight? I don't remember we spoke about that.
I couldn't get through it. I tried, man. I tried.
Did you get to the Samuel Jackson part where he tells the story?
Is that in the beginning?
No.
I got to the cabin.
That's it?
Yeah.
The movie starts at the cabin.
No, it doesn't. It starts on the road.
It starts on the road, but the cabin, they get to the cabin fairly quick.
And I tell you, it's like, even me and my girl, we try to watch it again. And she was like, I look at it as, I get being historically accurate. And
sort of, yeah.
There's shit. Like, I don't care if somebody wants to use the N-word or use any other profanity, slogans, slurs, racist, all that shit. Fine, but it has to be in a certain context, right? It has to be relevant to the story. And when I watch, every time I try to watch it, I'm like, it seems like these words are being thrown out there just to be thrown out there, and it doesn't do anything for the story, and it's not funny. Because even if somebody tells a racist joke, I'm like, I don't care as long as that shit is funny.
Yeah.
And it wasn't funny. It was just stuff that was being said, and I was like, it doesn't do anything for me. And I was like, I can't watch this. It's just like,
man,
I couldn't get like like I said, I watched all the way to the cabin. It got to the cabin, and what happened? Oh, I think somebody was there, and then he goes to the outhouse or some shit because there was another.
Yeah.
Remember that scene? Tied the horses.
Yeah, yeah.
Shit. I watched up to that, and I was like, I just can't watch this movie. Really? It's just like something was just bothering me every time I tried to watch it.
It's interesting. I was gonna say,
dude, I watched the fucking movie about Nat Turner. That movie was fucking harsh.
Yeah,
but it was a good movie.
Yeah,
racist as fuck, brutal as fuck, brutal. But I still watched it. I just couldn't get through that.
I really feel like you would enjoy The Hateful Eight.
I couldn't get through it.
To the part where, and I'll ruin it now because it doesn't seem like you're gonna get to it. But there's a scene. So
Kill Bill? No, ties into Kill Bill.
No, not really. but when you got to the cabin, you saw the characters that were in the cabin.
Yeah.
Remember the old man, the general, the old.
Believe so.
There's a scene where Samuel Jackson talks to them because they hate each other. The old man and Samuel Jackson.
Okay.
Because they recognize each other.
Okay.
And there's a scene where Samuel Jackson sits down and talks with them. And he goes, "So what are you doing here in this fucking cabin?" And the old man goes, "Well, I'm looking for my son." Mm. And Samuel Jackson starts to do that fucking crazy laugh that only Samuel Jackson can do. And he goes, "Oh, you mean so-and-so?" He goes, "How do you know my son?" He goes, "Well, your boy came looking for me because there was a price on my head. Mm. And let me tell you, he found me." And he talks you this whole story, how this motherfucker tried to kill him, this old man's son. He made him walk butt naked up a mountain, and then he made him suck his pecker. And he goes, "I made your boy get down in the snow and suck my big, black, long dingus."
Yeah.
And he just starts laughing and like that crazy laugh that he does. And then Tarantino zooms in and out with the camera, and the old man starts to flip out. But as he's telling the story, they cut to a visual of him making this guy walk in the snow. And then you see like from a really pulled out shot, like they're like this small in the shot, but you see this butt naked white boy sucking his dick, and then the old man reaches for a gun, and then that's when Samuel Jackson shoots him in the chair. And that was his whole plan. The whole time was to get this old man riled up enough so that he has a reason to pull the gun on him and shoot him. But the way they broke down the story of him walking this old man's son down, like captured him, made him walk butt naked through the snow in the mountains of like Wyoming or wherever they are in Montana, and then made him suck his dick. But the way he recited, he goes, "I made him suck my big, black, long dingus." It was so good. You could probably go to YouTube and just find that scene, that storytelling scene, and that will be enough for you to be like, "I don't need to watch this movie. This is the best scene in the movie." And it really is the best fucking scene in the movie. But that being said, Hateful Eight's not my favorite Tarantino movie, but it's probably, between Pulp Fiction and Django, I think Django's might be my favorite.
I like Kill Bill.
I like Kill Bill. It's just a little much for me. Like the whole story, the fact that it's split into two movies. It's a lot for
Hopefully
me.
3.
Probably 3. But it's a lot.
With the daughters.
Yeah. But Django is like a one movie, great storytelling, great actors. Like the Jamie Foxx that's in that movie, it's not the same motherfucker that's in fucking Robin Hood. I don't know who was in Robin Hood.
It's money.
I don't know what that was.
They didn't pay him enough.
They may have paid him too much. Because that's some bullshit what I saw on the screen. Jamie Foxx, I know you're not listening, but if you are, what the fuck, man? What is that? You can't be proud of that. I hope you didn't go to the red carpet. That's some bullshit. You're a fucking Academy Award winner. What the fuck you doing fucking in that movie? His agent must have been fucking up. Get offered these fucking movie roles, big ass checks, shitty ass storytelling. Some bullshit.
What else we got?
So I saw 2 documentaries a couple weeks apart, but they're really good. They're photography documentaries. So if you're not interested in photography, you could skip ahead. It's fine. The first one was the Gary Winogrand one, where I saw that at the Film Forum. I saw it by myself on a whim. I got like the last ticket at the Film Forum. Really good movie. If you're familiar with Gary Winogrand, he's a photographer that was around in the 50s. He shot in the 50s, 60s. He died in, I'm pretty sure he died in the 70s. He's a street photographer. He's pretty prolific in the fact that when he died, he had like some crazy number, like 2,000 rolls of film that were never developed.
Wow.
Yeah, and tons of negatives that were never checked and stuff like that. So a couple of years ago, the Met did a retrospective of his work, and they actually had his film developed and printed. And my friend's mother, Teresa, she's a darkroom printer. She was actually the one who got to print those negatives, and her prints were in the show. Amazing prints. He's an amazing photographer. I actually forget what the name of the documentary.
Reminds me of that movie Kodachrome. His life.
It's similar. I mean that character is based off another famous photographer. But this guy's very similar. He died of he died of cancer. He died of stomach cancer.
Fuck.
Yeah, but this guy, he's from the Bronx, old school Jew from the Bronx. He shot in New York, would move to California, shot in LA. If you go to YouTube and type in his name, you'll find all sorts of clips of him shooting. His most famous quote is when he's shooting this beautiful woman, and all of a sudden his camera runs out of film, so he has to change film. And the cameraman looks at him and goes, "What do you do when you have to change film?" He goes, "Pictures don't exist when I'm changing film." And he just says it in such a Brooklyn and it's such a New York Bronx kind of way with that accent. He goes, "Nah, pictures don't exist when I'm changing film." It's like a classic. It's a really, really insightful way. They have audio recordings of him talking to Jay Mizell, who is the center of the second documentary that I saw. But they were good friends in the 70s. And it was just really good. If you're a fan of photography, street photography in particular, or fine art, I suppose, too, because his work's considered fine art. You should go check that out. I believe they're doing the festival circulations now, the film circuit.
It's that time of year.
Yeah. Which brings me to the next movie, which is Jay Myself, which is the movie about Jay Mizell, who's another prolific photographer, best known for his famous photo of the Statue of Liberty, the really close-up one that he took from a helicopter where you can see a pretty girl in the crown of the Statue of Liberty when they still let people go up there when America was free. And the documentary focuses around Jay, but really focuses around the bank, which is where he lived. And it's a famous bank on the corner of Bowery and Spring Street. If you've been in New York for any amount of time, you've probably seen it. It was this old bank that was covered in graffiti. He bought it in the 70s for a fairly decent amount of money for back then, but ended up selling it in 2016 for $55 million, which pretty much is the biggest private real estate deal ever made. So the thing is, it's a 6 or 7 story building that had 72 rooms, and the entire place was to himself. So when you walked in, the first place is his gallery with all his work. Big prints, old prints that are done with the dye transfer process, which are no longer done because they're very expensive and the chemistry no longer exists. So the pictures are very vibrant, the colors are very deep and rich, and essentially they don't make them like they used to anymore. And every room had a different theme. He was just a collector. Some would say he's a hoarder, but he was a collector of stuff. He had things from all over the city. He has rooms. The bank still had a vault, a literal vault, and he that's where he would keep his negatives and his important stuff. And in the documentary, he says, we used to lock people in there for fun. And he goes, it was when you close the door, it's so airtight and silent that you could hear your own blood in your body going through your body, because everything would reverberate in there if you were locked inside. I mean, it's an amazing film. If you can watch this film, Jay Myself, you need to go watch it. If you're a fan of art, a fan of photography, if you're a fan of old New York City, of what it was like, they have so much pictures and film of what New York City and the Bowery was like in the 70s when he moved in, and he really made his name the 80s, late 70s, early 80s with his photography, and it's just vibrant. His style is unique. His style is very painterly. So if you see his photos, you can always spot a Jay Mizell photo. It's very different from people. I don't know what it is. It's just colorful and bright and punchy, and it's very. He has a look. Go watch that movie. It's amazing. He also happens to be an alumni from my high school. He's one of my favorite photographers. He's a cool dude. He's in his 80s now. He's kind of old, but we all get old.
It's part of life.
It's a great film. The film is very well done. It's done by Stephen Reel, who was his assistant for a long time. He was at the premiere. He was at the showing that I went to. He spoke on the movie after it was over. Really nice guy. I got a chance to meet him and speak with him. you know, it's a great documentary on a great photographer and a great person. And he made a lot of points in the movie. He was like, there are a lot of in the podcast that he did before the movie came out. He talks about, you know, like when he sees people with real talent that would work for him, he would let them go. He was like, listen, you're good enough. You don't need to be here. You need to be doing your own thing. You're ready. Go. And he would just like he would fire them, but it would be done in a very loving way. Like, you know,
instead of hindering
instead
their
of,
ability.
Yeah, you're gonna waste your time working for me. Go out, do your own thing. Let the world see what you can do. Go do that. You know, he's like, we're always gonna be friends. If you need me, I'm here. But go do your own thing. And it was things like that throughout the movie. And he would talk about like what it was like living there for so long. And they touched on the fact that when you own a building of that size, it, you know, the upkeep is what kills you.
Shit.
$300,000 a year just in oil, just to heat the place. And he's like, I can't afford it. And of course, the big thing is, what do you do when you have 72 rooms full of stuff? Where do you go? Where do you put that stuff? So they showed at the end this giant storage space that he has in Brooklyn with just boxes of stuff.
He still has it? He still has all the stuff?
Yeah, he didn't get rid of it. He got rid of some stuff. He got rid of a lot of things, but he still kept a lot of it. And when the movie was over and we're listening to the director talk, he's like, there may be a part 2 because he bought a place in Brooklyn, not nearly as big as what he had, but he just bought the building next to it. So there may be another follow-up documentary of getting all this shit back into this new place. So it was good. I recommend people check this out if you can. It's phenomenal. Did you want to say talk on something else? Because I have two other things I'd like to talk about real quick.
Go ahead, shoot.
So I saw a documentary on Netflix yesterday called De Palma about the director, Michael De Palma.
What's it called?
De Palma.
No.
He's the director who directed Scarface.
Okay.
He directed Mission Impossible.
Which one? The first one?
Okay. He directed a bunch of big movies that I really didn't really. He directed the famous Bruce Springsteen commercial music video where he brings Courtney Cox up onto the stage. That's where Courtney Cox got discovered. Okay. He's like best friends with George Lucas and Steven Spielberg. They all came up together in Hollywood in like the 60s. Okay. He directed a movie where he ended up casting Orson Welles as a character, and he was talking about how Orson Welles couldn't remember his fucking lines. It was interesting mostly because it was mostly interesting because he was completely and unbridledly talking about the underbelly of Hollywood and how difficult Hollywood can be if you're an artistic director and how the studios cripple all your ideas. So a lot of his movies, he directed Carrie, the original Carrie movie. He directed that movie. And a lot of his movies center around sex and violence. And oftentimes there's a lot of nudity in his movies and a lot of violence against women in his movies. And he makes it very clear that he's not doing it because he hates women, but because it's part of the story that he's trying to convey. And you can't really. There's some things in a movie you can't cut out if you want to tell a story. You have to do it. Like for example, with Scarface, the scene where they have Tony Montana in the motel room and they have him tied up in the bathroom and they're torturing his friend. They take the chainsaw and he goes, "I wanted to show them cutting into the guy with the chainsaw, but they wouldn't let me." He goes, "I sent it to the ratings board."
They do the shower curtain.
They just. He goes, even that one was cut. He goes, "I submitted it 3 times and 3 times it got an X. So on the 4th time, I put it all back in." He goes, "If you're gonna tell me on the 3rd time that's not enough, I'm gonna put everything back in. Why? Why would I change it?" Yeah. So he's old and kind of crotchety, but you can tell he cares about what he does and he wants to make sure his movies convey the right stuff. Hello, cat. That was really good. And then I watched the documentary. Netflix is killing it with documentaries on directors. They're fucking killing it right now. Yeah. Stanley Kubrick. Did you watch that one? No. You would fucking love that one.
About the room. Was it Room from the...
No. So it's about...
From The Shining.
Right. So it's not about him so much as it is his assistant... Okay. Vitaly something. I forget his name. But this guy looks he looks like an old fucking pirate. He looks like something out of Pirates of the Caribbean. But he's this English guy he's in this guy who became Stanley Kubrick's assistant was in Barry Lyndon, the movie Stanley Kubrick directed. Okay. Actually, let me get this right now. I don't want to fuck this up because this guy's actually very interesting. Let's see, Barry Lyndon, 1975. The cast. So this guy is Leon Vitali. That's his name, Leon Vitali. This guy ended up was in the 70s a huge actor in the UK. He was blowing up. Mm-hmm. He lands his role as a character in what's it called, Barry Lyndon, Kubrick's movie of the Victorian era.
All right.
He ends up like becoming not infatuated, but he's amazed by Stanley Kubrick and the process of making movies. So he no longer wants to be on the front of the camera. He wants to be behind the camera. And while telling his story about his life, it's completely tied in with Stanley Kubrick's life up until the very end when Kubrick dies. Mm-hmm. He was there. He was a production assistant on The Shining. He was there for everything pretty much except for 2001: A Space Odyssey. All right. And they even talk about the quote unquote moon landing really quick. And somebody's like, Did he really help with the moon landing? And this guy looks at it and goes, no, he did not. Next. You know, like it brings you into the...
If he did, he couldn't be able to tell it anyway.
Right. It's so interesting because it tells you about this guy Leon Vitali's life, but it tells you about Stanley Kubrick's life, and you kind of feel bad. And the whole documentary ends with the big show that they've had going on in California about Stanley Kubrick's life and his like the effect that Kubrick had on cinema. Mm-hmm. And they have all these things from all these movies, all these things that Leon Vitali helped on. They never invited Leon Vitali to the show. They never invited him to speak. But
that's fucked up.
Yeah, but what people did do was all these art schools, all these cinema schools, these film schools, who know about Leon, they would have Leon take the kids from the school or the students from the school to the exhibition and talk about it. And they said that he must have done like 18 or 19 trips and for free. And just talked about Stanley Kubrick and what it was like to work with him. And he would go up to the props. He would go up to the props from Eyes Wide Shut, and be like, "Oh, I remember when Tom did this, and this was this piece." And Stanley couldn't decide whether he wanted to do this. Leon Vitali was in Eyes Wide Shut in the mansion scene, in the orgy scene.
Yeah,
the guy that's sitting there in the chair in the middle.
That's him.
That's him with the mask on, saying, "What is the password, please?" Yeah. That's him. That's Leon Vitali.
That movie was very trippy.
It is very trippy, and it ends weird. Like it ends not the way you would think it would end, but. Go check it. You for sure should go check out that movie. It's on Netflix. You'll love it.
All right.
I promise. And then the last thing I saw on Netflix that was really cool, aside from Narcos Mexico, which you should go watch as well, because that shit.
I'm not watching that crap.
Dude, it's so good.
Nah, I don't need to see that.
Why not?
Well, I need to see a story about drugs.
Dude, the storytelling is so good. And Michael Pena does a great job.
Probably does, but...
Did you watch the first Narcos? The
yes.
original? All the seasons?
Yeah, no, just the first season.
Well, this one kind of intertwines with that first season. The same actors, when they go to Colombia for the brief, like one episode, you see the same actors. Dude, it's better than the first Narcos. It's so good.
I don't want to see anything about drugs.
Really?
Yeah.
But it's just marijuana. All right.
Yeah.
Orson Welles.
Okay.
There's a documentary on Orson Welles. It's called "They'll Love Me After I'm Gone," or "They'll Love Me When I'm Gone," and it's basically the whole thing is about Orson Welles and his crazy life and his attempt at making his last movie his last movie called The Other Side of the Wind, which never got made, never got finished. He tried to film it for like 9 years and he just couldn't get it done. So they made this documentary, and then Netflix gave somebody a ton of money to finish the movie. Okay. So when they released the documentary, like a week later, they released Other Side of the Wind, which had never been previously released.
It's also on Netflix?
Also on Netflix.
Right.
Hot mess of a movie. If you watch the documentary, you'll see it, and then when you watch the movie, you're like, half of it's in black and white, half of it's in color. The movie was like... Orson Welles had something to do with Iran-Contra or some shit. Or the Iranian... Or when the Ayatollah... When the Ayatollah... Some shit happened in Iran. His film, the actual film... The stock was in a vault in Iran for like 10 years. And they would not release it because of some kind of weird law. So it took forever to get the film actually back into the United States.
What was the thing with Ben Affleck? He made a movie about
Argo.
Argo when they made the fake movie. Is this that? Is this that? No, it's something different, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Sorry, I ate a chip. But that is a great documentary. Other Side of the Wind. Now, They'll Love Me When I'm Gone.
Is it?
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. Orson Welles is a madman, but the documentary shows like at him at his height after Citizen Kane and how amazing he is, and how prolific he is, and how he's a genius, and how he's like the greatest filmmaker alive or ever, really. And then like this very sad decline where he can't get any movie made, and nobody wants to touch him, and he gets fucking huge and fat and weird, and he just dies. And the movie that he spent his last 9 years of his life trying to make just disappears into the wind.
Will is a very, very strange place.
Oh, it's the weirdest place.
And it's like some people will not some people, but people will say like these stories about how it works, who's in charge, all this stuff. And it's like, oh, yeah, everybody takes it with a grain of salt.
Mm-hmm.
Then you look at the people's lives, they get just chewed up, spit out. And then you hear about like the bad shit, about like the pedophiles and the sex cults and the sex workers, and it's like, what the fuck is really going on in Hollywood, man?
Mm-hmm. There's a lot going on there.
It's like, ugh.
Mm-hmm. And you see that in hints of that in the Orson Welles documentary. Like they have, like when they're doing the filming, like Orson Welles can't really afford to pay anybody, so he's just kind of grabbing people to be in the movie. He's calling in favors, and like at one point they get like this 15-year-old girl to be in the movie, and she's not an actress, and I think she like delivered pizza and like, hey, you want to be in a fucking movie? And like she's like, it's really weird. Like it's a different time, right? Like 70s, a different time. But yeah, I don't know, or 60s rather for this one. But they've been making the movie since the 60s, and they just released it on Netflix. It's a fucking hot mess. I watched maybe.
Well, that's not good.
I watched 25 minutes of it. I'm like, it's too much. It's too all over the place. It's super avant-garde, as avant-garde as you can get with a movie. It's super strange. I didn't finish it. Documentary though, it's good. It's long. It's like 2.5 hours. So
check this out.
What's this?
You know, I'm always watching these videos online of just like crazy, strange things. So there was a thunderstorm the other day, and not in New York. This was like somewhere else. But check this out.
Oh, what is that? Oh,
no, not that. Let me see. Should I play sound? I guess I should play sound. No. It's a video from Secure Team 10, their YouTube page.
Oh yeah.
But,
they're still around?
Yeah, he's still making content. You know, but this video is very trippy.
Did he get demonetized?
Yeah, he's on Patreon like everybody else. Yeah. Check this out. Here's the video. We're watching a video of right now it's a blank sky. And then a lightning storm.
What was that?
Exactly. A lightning storm just happened. And when the lightning storm went off, there was a black triangle in the sky. Just floating there. Yeah, this came out the other day on the 23rd on Secure Team 10. It's trippy, man.
The fuck is that?
Yeah. Like people send him videos and stuff, and I'm like, it's some very interesting things, man. Again, I don't know what it is. I'm not saying it's an ET or some shit. I just don't know. I don't know what it is. It's a truly unidentified flying object. But
It's a weather balloon.
Could be.
No, it's a fucking alien.
Nah. It's the Space Force, man.
That's the Space Force training.
That's the Space Force. Yeah. But it's trippy, right? Imagine if you looked up in the
That's
sky
wild.
and saw that, you know?
You don't want to be next to me if that shit happens. I will lose my goddamn mind.
I like those videos, though. But it happens more. It happens more than we know.
Oh,
You know.
I forgot to send you something. I got to send you later.
What's
I
that?
saw somebody posted a picture that they were shooting from outer space,
Yeah.
and you could see the space station.
That's cool. What it look like?
Just a bright star.
Should be bigger though, because it's closer.
It's like that big. In the photo, it looks pretty big relative to the Earth. But I was like, Gotta send this to John.
Yeah. It's
All
like my biggest problem with space is like I believe that like there's some photos that are real, but most of them are CGI, and that's the problem. You know, and NASA even admitted that the photos are CGI because we have to composite everything and piece it together. And I'm like, fine, you know, good, you have to do that, but at least have some type of consistency, have some type of evolution. Don't just keep showing us the same photo for like 10 years because people call them out on that shit.
Yeah. I know they showed a picture recently of the International Space Station where they keep all the camera gear. They got a lot of cool toys up there.
Yeah.
It cost them $150,000 to fly up the latest like Nikon lenses up to them.
Here's a question.
Still cheaper than if NASA did it. They'd send it private.
But here's another question. How come we never saw any type of footage or of them making a space station? That's what I want to see. How did you make that?
I never thought of that.
Exactly. Those are questions I asked.
What year did that go up there?
I don't know. I wouldn't even know.
You know, I've just always assumed it was up there. I have had zero consideration of, hey, when did they even build that? Why was that never publicly like, hey, we're building a space station. Our first thing that where people are going to live up there. That's fucking wild. That's weird.
Like I say, everything is a trial and error. So I'm pretty sure there was test runs somehow.
How did they get it up there? It's pretty big, right?
Yeah, it's an International Space Station.
You just fucked me up.
Like I always say, you know, and we always have we've been having this debate forever. But how come the satellites don't show up and stars don't show up? And sometimes stars do show up and sometimes stars won't show up in the photos. I'm like, you got to be consistent.
I think it's just the settings on the camera.
Maybe not.
Maybe.
Yeah.
You want to hear something fucked up that maybe you already know, but I didn't know until recently?
What's that?
Cats do not meow at other cats. They only meow at people.
That's not true.
It's true. I looked it up.
I had 2 cats.
Yeah, cats only meow at each other when they're young. When they're older, they make noises, but they mostly speak with body language.
Well, I had 2 cats that used to make noise to each other.
But they never meow at each other for like the way they meow at a human.
But they made noises and they meow.
Well, they go.
I had 2 cats. I had a big one that was named Thunder, and I had a little one that was named George.
And they would just meow at each other?
They would make noises to each other.
But that's not meowing. They can make other noises.
I mean, Sparks technically doesn't meow.
Well, she meows like at you, like sometimes when she'll climb up. She'll
You
like,
know, and well, that's a noise. So when Sparks had kittens, right, she would make like noises to them.
Yeah, when they're little, you have to make
And
noises.
it was like this gurgling sound she would always make.
But
And they would come running.
But I was reading this article, and this person's like, cats really don't meow at each other because they use body language to talk. But they meow at humans because they know they can manipulate you. And
She manipulate shit.
my cat manipulates shit out of me. I'm asleep, and she's just meowing at the door, and I'm like, let her in. And Nicole now goes, and this is when Nicole decided to tell me this. She goes, in the middle of the night, Nicole's like, she's manipulating you. Cats don't meow, only meow at humans. And in the middle of the night, I'm like, the fuck are you talking about?
I don't know about that.
I've
had cats my whole life.
I don't know. I think we need to research this.
And I know when I had my 2 cats, I had them for a couple of years before I got rid of them. And they would communicate. I mean, maybe they wouldn't meow all the time, but they would communicate with each other.
But think about how many times, I mean, at least for me with my cat, I'll be sitting there and she'll come up and she'll be like, meow.
Yeah, but you only have 1 cat.
Right,
To
but
test that theory, you need another cat.
well, our neighbor has a cat. Our neighbor, for some reason, lets the cat out into the hallway, just hang out.
Okay.
And our cat will go to the door and like brush up on the door and like tap the door, but our cat never meows, and I never hear that cat meow.
Okay.
But in the middle of the night, my cat will meow the fuck out of my door to try to get me to open the goddamn door.
So you gotta hit your cat.
And I'm not gonna hit my cat.
Spark stands right at the doorway. She will not come in.
Well, yeah, my cat's an animal. She doesn't care. My cat does whatever she wants.
Okay, she get hit with a shoe.
No, don't hit Spark. Don't hit Spark.
Yeah, man.
Look at your tooth. Oh, you got a snaggle tooth. You got a snaggle tooth. Okay. Cat looks so upset. I just touched her tooth. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
All right. Thank you for tuning into episode number 30.
See this? Hold up. I don't know what that is, but that's how satellites look when they cross our atmosphere. When people have video of satellites,
it's like, yeah, they'll zip by, but they're always like these little dots going by. So if we can see it from Earth, how come we can't see them from space?
Because there's more light on Earth.
Maybe not. But then you have the light of the sun.
Not at night.
Not at night on the Earth. What are you talking about?
What is it?
The sun lights up our whole solar system.
Yeah,
man.
but we're just getting reflected. We're just getting reflected light from the moon. At night, when we see satellites,
the reflective light from the moon comes from the sun.
yeah, but it's not as bright when the day's
The
out.
moon doesn't glow.
No, but at night we're, no, that's not. No, I'm saying at night when we're looking up at the sky, it's glowing because of the reflection of the light from the moon that's reflecting off the sun.
Yes.
Right, but the reason why there is more light here because we get that reflection.
But if the sun is powering our whole solar system, and then everything in the sun's path is going to reflect.
Right.
So if a satellite is in the sun's path, it should reflect.
Right, and that's how we see it from the sky, because it's darker.
So exactly.
In the sky. Yes.
So if somebody's in space and they're taking a picture and they're in the path of the sun,
Right.
then it should reflect off of it. Yes. Exactly.
You got me beat there.
Yes.
But I guess that also depends on where the sun is, right?
Exactly. That's true.
Like if we're here and the Earth is here and the sun's over here,
It's true.
then that doesn't make
The
sense.
sun is pretty damn big.
But if we're on the same side as the sun,
It's
then that makes sense.
But there's also low flying satellites.
Sure.
This is what we discussed before.
Yeah.
And they never show up
I got to talk to my
in
cousin.
photos.
He works for Hubble. He would probably know the answer to this. He worked on telescopes for the Hubble.
I'd be glad to hear his response.
He's a super nerd. You know,
He's gonna do an interview with Bob Lazar.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You know who Bob Lazar is?
Name sounds familiar.
One of the biggest dudes. They tried so many things to discredit this guy.
Oh, okay.
He was one of the main ones to be like, I worked at Area 51.
Wow.
This is what I worked on. This is how it works there. Yeah, he was like everything. He was the one who broke the first one, I believe, who came out with the story about Area 51. And they were like, no, you didn't. He never worked here. He never did this. He never worked for the government. He's like, really? And he's like, oh, you never went to the school. He's like, really? He was like, I have all this. Just like William Cooper, he was like, I have all this stuff. Discredit me now. But he was saying like Bob Lazar.
Oh, that guy.
That guy, yeah.
That guy. Yeah.
He was like, everything's compartmentalized. So he's like, people don't really know what they're working on.
Yeah, I remember I watched something. He was walking around with a gun on his head.
But he was like,
they're trying to get me.
this guy's going to interview him. Yeah. But one-on-one.
I gotta go follow this guy. He might be an alien too.
I don't know about
Lazar, Bob. All right, let's wrap this bitch up.
Yeah. So
Thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. Episode 30. You know how to reach us. Chico and the Grin at gmail.com. Chico and the Grin on Instagram. Chico and the Grin on Twitter. Chico and the Grin on Facebook.
Have you been checking that?
Yeah. On Facebook?
Yeah.
Yeah. They've been posting shit.
All right.
If you want to get in touch with us, let us know. We'd be happy to hear from you. I'm half your host, Chico.
I'm the other half, the silent one.
Thanks for joining us. Goodbye.
Peace.